today we are going to be talking about teaching strategies. We have so many things to teach our kids. How in the world are we supposed to go about it? There are lots of ways. Let's talk about some of them today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. I'm sure the most incredible way that we have to teach is by example. My mom was notorious for saying, "Do not do what I do what I say." In other words, I can do whatever I want, but don't follow my example. That's absurd. Kids are going to do what they see. Example is probably the strongest teaching method that any of us have ever had, especially with our kids who see us and experience us and know about us by heart from the time they're babies until they're well into their adult years. And you can't fake it with them because they're around for it. They see it all. They actually know the real deal about you. I realize that's a little scary for some of us, but it's absolutely true. So take it really seriously. What kind of example am I being? If I'm smoking 2 packs a day and I get drunk every single night, or I'm like toking up every single day and even snorting a little bit along the way, man, I say to my kids, you really shouldn't do drugs, they're not really good for you, and some people overdose. They're gonna be like laughing in your face, like, what are you talking about? I read an incredible book the other day written by a young woman whose mom was a heroin addict. She said all her life she fully intended to never do drugs, but when she was 17 years old, she just thought once she'd see what the thing was all about, and she became a horrific heroin addict. I cannot say that I'm shocked about that in any way, shape, or form. Often people who are violent, their children grow up to be violent also. Over 90% of people who are sexually molested as kids grow up and molest another person. We learn the most by what we see and experience. Example is a very strong teaching strategy. Follow through. When we say, if you do this, this will happen, and we follow through, that is a very strong teaching strategy. When we say, if you do this, this will happen, except it doesn't, that is a very strong teaching strategy too. It tells people that I can do whatever I blamed well want and get away with it. Not healthy, but it is a teaching strategy. But follow through is a massively effective teaching strategy. You do this, I'm doing this, and then you do it. Oh, kids find out, they better be listening to you because you mean what you say. Follow through is a major teaching strategy. Straight facts. Give your kids the straight facts. This is how drinking looks on the TV commercial. It's fun and you got this buzz and you might get laid and, you can be the life of the party. But this is where it goes to. Literally, somebody puking their guts up, laying on the ground in their own vomit, or spending every bit of money they had that needed to be spent for bills on a great time, or some guy coming home and beating the living daylights out of his family, or someone in a drunk driving situation in a vehicle killing or definitely maiming other people, or someone ending up in jail or the hospital over the severity of their alcoholism. Give them the straight facts. Yeah, you can have sex when you're 13 years old. I mean, people do it every day, right? No big deal. Everybody else is. What's the problem? If you get pregnant, if you get an incurable sexually transmitted disease, that's going to be your life. That's going to be your circumstances. You will have a child and a great deal of responsibility that you aren't even prepared for. You will be paying child support for the next 20 years, dude, so get a grip because you can't even feed your own self. You're still in my house, but that's still going to happen in your world. You get this sexually transmitted disease, every other person that you are ever intimate with is at risk because of your choices. Oh, and as I've talked about before, you keep having sex with multiple people and giving parts of your life away. Pretty soon you're feeling pretty empty and pretty used. Give them straight facts. Let's give them some of the better stray facts. You take good care of yourself. It's not a guarantee because disease happens to a lot of people, but chances are better that you will have a healthy and a longer productive life. If, in fact, you use your mind and you get a good education, you have a better opportunity of having a good job and making money. If you use your gifts, talents, and skills well, you'll have a far more fulfilling, productive life. You may not make a lot of money, but you will feel great about the life that you have. If in fact you develop good relationships and you develop good relational skills, you will have a way fuller and richer life because of those people in your world that make your world so much brighter and so much stronger and more meaningful. Give them the straight facts. Use word pictures. I was really bad at this when I was younger. I can't say that I'm great at it now, but I'm probably a little bit better. Help your kids understand a concept that they just can't get a hold of by using a word picture. So I'm going to talk about the concept of betrayal. So you say to your child, you have this great friend. Don't use any of his actual friends because you don't want him putting this on whoever the friend is. But you have this great friend named Billy. And you're good friends for 3, 4, 5 years, and you do everything together, and you're always hanging out together. And suddenly, he doesn't like you anymore. He doesn't want to be around you anymore. He tells all of your secrets to all of these terrible people that razz you and ride you. And how does that feel? And anybody on the face of God's green earth can look at you and say, it feels terrible. Yes, betrayal feels really bad. So when we are faithful and trustworthy with what our friends share with us, especially the deep parts of their heart, they don't ever have to feel the wounds of betrayal. Use a word picture to help them get a hold of this. And then use an illustration. I think the great thing about fairy tales is their wonderful illustrations. Hansel and Gretel went out into the woods, which they weren't supposed to. They were supposed to stay close to home. And the farther they got away from home, they thought they had a great solution. They kept putting down breadcrumbs, thinking this was going to get them back to where they were supposed to go no matter how far they went. And then they get out there and they find this little cottage, and it's so very interesting. And they're getting into things they don't have any business getting into. And they just have all kinds of trouble. And it began with a really poor initial decision to go do whatever they wanted to do in spite of what they were instructed to do. Now we know that birds ate the crumbs and they couldn't get back home, and the witch at the house was evil to them. We understand ideas, concepts, beliefs, and even consequences when we look at a really good illustration. All of these are effective teaching strategies. There isn't anything wrong with rote learning, which is A, B, C, just sheer memorization. 4 times 10 is 40. Sheer memorization, rote learning. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But there are a lot more effective means of teaching our children the things that they need to know in life. My challenge question today is, how are you doing at being an effective teacher in your child's life? If you aren't doing very well, then I want to invite you to start looking at some of these concepts and teaching them more effectively by example, follow through, straightforward facts, word pictures, and illustrations. It's been great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. I will look forward to seeing you again soon. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.